sport, her life.
This is her life.
Here's your host, Lauren McLean.
Hey everyone, it's Lauren McLean. This week we're replaying one of our favorite conversations from season 3 of Her Why, an interview with BYU soccer player Mackenzee Vance. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode featuring BYU women's basketball standout Mariah Hudgens. Stay tuned.
Her triumphs, I took a group of women that didn't believe in themselves, and I just believed in them. Her trials.
I never wanted to go to practice. I was losing a ton of weight.
Her story.
I just put my faith in God and just trusted the system.
Her why.
I want people to see what I did and say, oh, that's so awesome. I'm going to be better than that. That would be how I hope that this journey ends.
This is Her Why, where we tell the stories from BYU women's sports. Here's your host, Lauren McLean.
We're so glad you've joined us for Her Why, where we celebrate the women who make BYU sports great. Joining us now is star forward for the BYU women's soccer team, Mackenzee Vance. Thank you so much for being here with me, Mackenzee.
Yes, thank you for having me.
What would you say the team is looking like in spring compared to what they looked like in fall 2024?
Yeah, so I think one thing that's super cool to see is like some of our areas that we were working on in the fall have become like some of our biggest strengths now in the spring, which is super exciting to see. And then it's also super exciting to see some like new faces like the freshmen come in and have some bigger roles. And it's just, we're having a fun time this spring.
You remember being a freshman, I'm sure. And BYU is such a great nationally renowned program. What's the spring like for those freshmen? What's going through their mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the freshmen when they first got here, like some of them are from California, and I could tell, like just from myself being not from Utah, coming in, like having to battle the altitude, having to battle just completely different environment when you're going from like club to obviously college. And so you could tell like a lot of them were getting like pretty nervous and kind of like in their heads. And then eventually like a month in, you kind of see themselves like start to like actually like become themselves and like bring out the best of themselves for the team and like just get a lot more comfortable. And it was super exciting to see that with all the freshmen. So.
And now that you're an upperclassman, are you kind of like, hey, you got this. You're going to be okay. I promise.
Yeah, I would definitely say I'm the tough love of the team. I'm the one that like will be super hard on you in practice and then afterwards tell you, you guys are doing a great job. Like, I love you. Like, please don't take anything personally on the field. Like, I mean it for the best and all of them understand that. And so, yeah, I would definitely say I'm the one who gives the tough love, but at the end of the day, it's all love. So
I love that. Ellie Walbrook is officially back after her ACL tear. How's it been having her back on the field with you?
Oh, it's awesome, especially because, she's like one of our biggest team leaders out here. And like, obviously not having her last season, she still had a really big role and she was really, trying to help us on and off the field as much as she could. And now that she's back, it's super exciting. Like, obviously I played with her for a year at UCLA and I obviously loved playing with Ellie and I was super sad when she left. But now that I'm reunited with her again, like, it's just super exciting to see her flourish. And she looks better than she did when she didn't tear her ACL. She's doing amazing. Wow. Like, it's unbelievable how well she has come back from this injury.
Good for her, because that's tough to do. You're an upperclassman on the team, not to mention one of the leading scorers. What are you hoping to accomplish this season?
Yeah. For myself personally, like, I always tell people, like, it doesn't matter about the, like, awards and, like, Big 12 Player of the Week or of the season or, whatever the situation is. Like, that stuff never really mattered to me. What matters to me is just growing as a person on and off the field to the best of my ability. And it's, like, what my team needs, putting my team first. So it's, like, whatever role that I am this season, like, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And I just hope that I can improve even more than I did last season. And just take it that much further for this fall.
Get 1% better, right?
Exactly.
All right, take me back to growing up in Bluffton, South Carolina. And that's about 2 hours from Charleston. Is that right?
Yeah.
I was just in Charleston.
2 hours south.
Yes. So when I saw that that's where you're from, I'm like, yes. Had to look up where exactly it was. What was your hometown like?
Oh, gosh. Very small. Very, very small. I think it's actually kind of crazy, like when you go from a small town then to going somewhere like UCLA, where you're now in Los Angeles, one of the biggest cities in the country. And it's actually quite honestly shocking, like just all around a culture shock. Like, it is crazy. So yeah, coming from a small town, then going to a big town, it's actually wild. You learn a lot of new things, and yeah, you just learn as you go. But living in Bluffton, one of my favorite beach towns in the entire country, honestly, it is so great and so calm. And I always look forward going back there. So,
is it like what we'd picture as one of those like charming southern
cities
100% with the magnolia trees and the
yes. And the oak trees just hanging with the moss. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, definitely.
So cool. So tell me how you first got involved in sports.
Okay, so growing up, I actually started doing dance, and my mom was the one who kind of pushed me to do that. I did like ballet and hip hop and jazz and all that stuff. And then my dad was so much more like, we need to get you into an actual sport. And my dad was like, so let's try, basketball, soccer, tennis. They actually tried me in golf first, and I absolutely hated it. I was throwing tantrums left and right out there because I would hit it into the little sandbox, and I would get so upset, I couldn't get it out. So we knew that wasn't the sport for me, and then went into like basketball and soccer, and I really fell in love with both of those sports, and played basketball all the way up until I was probably like 8, 9, and then I really realized that like soccer is like kind of the direction that I wanted to go in, and that's kind of when I actually went into club, and then from there it went on.
You're like me, where you're like, I need to channel my aggression into something a little more physical than golf.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you were like 8 or 9 when you decided that soccer was a sport for you. So what was it about it that made you fall in love?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it was honestly the people that I was around. I think a lot of the girls that I was growing up with had a lot of passion for soccer, and like seeing that, obviously it just kind of like reflects onto you and kind of like builds that confidence in yourself where it's like, hey, like if they can do it, I can do it. And it just kind of like went around like that, where I was like, okay, like I'm actually not bad at this sport. Like I actually enjoy playing, and I actually enjoy like making people look silly on the field, or just, scoring goals or having just a blast with the girls. And I think that's something that like kind of separated like, from golf to like playing soccer. It's so much more like a team sport, which I really loved. I had girls to back me up. I had myself to back up my girls. And I think something like an environment like that, it's super fun to be a part of. And so, yeah, that was kind of like my decision of like, yeah, like soccer is the way that I want to go. Like I'm pretty good at this. Like I think I could be really good at this. And I have a bunch of people around me who thought I could do it as well.
And that helps. So
Yes.
You were in South Carolina. You only played 1 year of high school soccer before you started doing club soccer in Jacksonville, Florida. So you're commuting 161 miles each way. What went behind that decision?
Yeah, so I actually played club in Savannah, Georgia for a little bit, and I think around that time was when I became really confident in myself, and I was like, okay, is there anything else out there that could be more challenging for myself? And my dad, bless his soul, like he did a lot of like researching and digging around, and like the closest club teams that could provide that challenging environment for me would be either Atlanta, Georgia, which was like 4 hours from me, or Jacksonville, Florida, which is like 2.5 hours from me. And so thankfully my dad has a job where he can, be super flexible and drive me down to Jacksonville every single day of the week. And so that's what we decided to go with. And, the nice thing about that is like my family and I were 100% committed into doing that, because we knew that I wanted to be the best soccer player in the world at the time, or like still now, but at that time I was like, I'm willing to do anything and everything to become the best version of myself. And if that means driving 2.5 hours to Jacksonville to play for a club team, that's what I'm willing to do. And my parents were on the same page with that, and I'm so blessed and thankful for that. But yeah, so that's kind of like how I got into that.
It was every day.
Every day. Until my senior year, when I was getting ready to go off to Spain and then to UCLA, I was like, okay, like we can dial it back like 3 times a week for if I need to be. But yeah, we dialed it down a little bit.
That is dedication, not only for you, but for your family.
Yes, extremely.
Would you like do homework on those 2.5 hour drives?
I'll give you a short rundown. So every day after school, I get picked up by my dad. My dad brings me lunch. We drive straight down to Jacksonville. I'm doing homework. I'm taking a nap in the car, whatever I need to do to get ready for practice. I'm changing in the car for practice. And then I get to practice, train for about 2 hours. We finish around like 8:39 most nights. And then my dad will pick me up again, bring me dinner. And then we drive right back home. And then I get home around 11 o'clock to midnight, depending if there's traffic. Wake up at 6 in the morning and just repeat it all over again. So yeah, it was crazy dedication right there.
Did it ever become taxing, or did you just love soccer that much that you're like, no, this is great?
I think in the beginning it was definitely that feeling where I was like, I love this so much. Like I could care less. Like I could drive 4 hours right now because I'm just so excited just to play with this team. And then I think eventually as I got older and kind of went through some like mental health issues with soccer on and off the field, I think that's when it kind of became a little bit harder to deal with, where I was like, some days I was waking up and I was like, I don't think I have it in me today. Or like, it was very, at some points during my career, it was just very taxing where I was like, okay, like I need to like reset. And I would actually spend like a week at home just trying to like settle myself, like remember why I'm doing this, why I'm playing soccer. Remember that I'm doing it because it's fun, not because it's, end all be all. Like it's not going to be the end of the world if I don't do well at this one practice. And so I think that was like a time in my life where I was like, okay, yes, it's kind of hard going down to Jacksonville every single day when, you may not be at your best.
Yeah. If you're comfortable talking about it, what brought on those mental health struggles that you were talking about?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest moment when I realized I was having some mental health struggles was actually when I was getting called up with the national team. And, a lot of times you have national team camps and you don't get called into all of them. And you don't know why. Nobody tells you why. Nobody's saying. And so you just automatically assume the worst. It's, I'm not the best player. Like, they don't see something in me. Or this person's better than me, and you start comparing yourself. And like all those things start to like seep in. And then, you start to see it when you practice and you just don't have that confidence anymore, and it becomes really hard to perform your best. And then it's like around that time when I was so young, I was like, I didn't know how to get myself out of that funk. And I had my coaches who were amazing, who were trying to help me. My parents were trying to help me. And it just seemed almost like I was in a never-ending loop of like, I just can't get out of this funk. And so it wasn't until actually I went to Spain and I met with this guy his name was Todd Bean, and he's huge into mental health. And he actually is like the son-in-law of Johan Cruyff, if you know who that is. He was like a big player at FC Barcelona.
Okay, cool.
He created the tiki-taka style of play. And so he was the one who really helped me kind of like learn how to control those like negative thoughts. And honestly, like once I learned how to do that, like my best version of myself was like endless. So
incredible.
Yeah.
So it was when you went to Spain
and
met this guy.
Yeah, that's really when it started to hit. And like when I was in Spain, I graduated early from high school. So I spent like 5-6 months before COVID hit over in Spain and just played soccer, no school, just soccer. Played with boys. It was like a boy, like, I wouldn't even say a club team. It was just kind of like one of those like things where you kind of get sent into it and you like train every single day, and then on the weekends you go and you play for like local club teams and you play on those teams. And it was actually with a boys team, so I like lived in a house full of boys who were like age range from like 13 to like 18 and like the 13-year-old boys were schooling me, like, but it was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my entire life, and it taught me so much.
Was your family able to go with you, or were you over there by yourself?
No, they actually didn't come with me. I went over there by myself, but honestly it was a great time, and it was actually something that I think I needed from going from like a small town home where I was like, I'm an only child too, so like I'm the baby, like I'm always with my parents 24/7, and then going to Spain by myself with a bunch of boys in that environment where I kind of had to learn how to be a grown-up for the first time. I think that's like what really helped set me up for success when I went to UCLA.
I'm sure you learned a lot.
Oh, 100%. Especially when you're an only child and then you're living with like 20, 30 boys. It's like, oh my gosh.
That is crazy. Super cool though. So
yeah.
You had your debut at the U.S. Youth National Team with the U14s, and then you played for the Youth National Team for 5 seasons and earned your first cap with the U17 Women's National Team in 2017. Can you explain what a cap is for listeners that may not know what that means?
Yeah. So a cap is essentially your first time playing in an actual game for the U.S. National Team. I'm trying to remember who I played against. It was one of the... I should have been more prepared for this question.
Someone.
It was a long time ago, but yeah, it was I want to say it was like, it wasn't even Turks and Caicos. It was like one of those teams where it's kind of like a smaller smaller team, but it was super fun. And obviously when you get thrown into moments like that, like sometimes it can just be so surreal that like you're playing and you're just like looking around at the crowd and stuff and you're like, oh shoot, I forget I'm playing soccer right now. Like it was an awesome experience.
What do you learn from playing with incredible athletes like that on like a bigger scale? Because like you mentioned, you came from a small town, then you play with club, and then you go to this national team. What was that like?
I think it was honestly, it was a huge shock for me because obviously when you come from a small town, you're probably one of the best players in that small town. And then even on your club team, most players are, the best players on that club team. And then when you go to the national team, everybody is at the same caliber as you, if not better. And so I think it was a huge wake-up call when I went to my first national team camp. We did like a whole like technical testing and like that's my area that I thrive in. So I was like, I got this in the bag and I'm doing super well, whatever. And then you see the other girls going after you and it's just like, wait, they can do the same exact thing as me. I'm like, what the heck's going on right now? Like I thought this would be my standout moment. So yeah, it was definitely a bit challenging when you see like that every single girl is just as good as you, if not better. But it also is kind of, it lets you reflect a little bit because then it's like, okay, like if these girls are just as good as me, like that fuels me to be even better. And so then when that moment happened on my first national team call up, when I came back home, I just remember I was like, I need to be training 2-3 times a day. I need to be doing this, that, this. I need to do everything in my potential to be better than these girls. And so that's kind of like how I took it when I went on my first national team camp.
You have an incredible drive. That is amazing. Where a lot of people would be like, okay, well, I give up. Or like, this is the best I can be. You just took that as a challenge.
And that's where I think, honestly, that mental health stuff kind of kicked in because then it was like me constantly comparing myself to other people, which obviously for the people who are listening, please do not do that. Learn from my mistake. But yeah, it's super, super difficult when you start comparing yourself to other people. And so I had to eventually learn that I shouldn't be comparing myself to other people. I shouldn't be having like coaches' decisions and what they're saying define who I am. It's all about myself at the end of the day and knowing that I'm a great player and I know I can be the best version of myself. It's not trying to like outbeat another player. It's like, how can I be the best version of myself?
I think that's a great message. So by the time you went to Spain, you were on the U19 team. Were you used to playing internationally by then? Were you like, oh, I'm good?
Yeah. Well, that was actually my first like U.S. national team, like international trip. But it was actually cool because that was around the time that I was actually living in Spain, playing with the boys. And so that's when I was becoming like the best version of myself. And I was extremely confident in my ability to play. And that was the first national team camp that I could say I performed my best that I could have ever performed. And so that gave me really high hopes going into like UCLA, like knowing that like that just kind of like drove my confidence in the right direction. That going into UCLA, I was like, nothing can destroy my confidence right now. Like I'm going in at a high, like I need it. It's like, what can I do to keep this high, right? Like what can I do to maintain this? So yeah.
So tell me about your recruiting process and what made you decide on UCLA.
Yeah, so obviously back then the recruiting like details are way different than they are now. Like I could talk to coaches when I was 13 years old. Like it was like there was just no rules on that. And so when I was actually in Jacksonville, Florida, my dad came across this like ID flyer for UCLA. They were having one in Orlando, Florida. And my dad did some research on UCLA and saw that it was like, top 10 like schools in the country. And the great program, they just won a national championship. And my dad was like, Mackenzee, like, would you be interested in something like this? And I was like, yeah, like, let's do it. And so actually honestly, I would say 5 years straight, I would go to the UCLA ID camps and been to a couple others. I've been to actually, I think I've only been to one other ID camp, and it was Duke. So I've only ever been to UCLA ones, and they were so much fun. I always had a blast, and I got to meet Amanda Cromwell, who was the head coach at the time, and grow a relationship with her. And I think that's super important when you're trying to get recruited, is getting that relationship with your coach. And so that she just was like a second like mom to me, honestly. Like she would give me the hard details that I didn't want to hear. Yeah. But she was also comforting. She was awesome. And so I just knew like going to those ID camps, I was like, I think this is where I want to go. And I haven't even been on a visit yet. So then I'm on the phone with them, and they're like, you guys should come out. Like, you should just come see the campus. Went out, saw UCLA, and my mind was blown. Because, again, coming from a small town like Bluffton, South Carolina, then going to LA, it is a huge change. And I was all for it. I was like, I want to live in a city. Like, this is so cool. Like, nice weather 24/7, hardly rains, no hurricanes. I was like, I'll take it. And so eventually I had further conversations down the road. I was 15 years old when I committed to UCLA. And I still remember I was on the phone with them, and like afterwards when I got off, I started crying with my parents. I was like, I can't believe I just did this. But I was 15 years old at the time. Like, who really knows where they want to go at 15 years old? Like, that's crazy. So, but honestly, it's so awesome. And that experience will never take away anything from me. It was awesome.
I'm curious because you're so close to North Carolina, and they're like a soccer powerhouse. Was that ever something that was in the back of your mind?
So growing up, honestly, this is kind of funny. I've never been a UNC fan ever because they've always had the best players. I've always just been like, I'd rather go somewhere where like, you know, I can beat UNC. That's what I wanted to do, you know? And so I was looking at Duke a lot, and I was like, that would be cool if I went to Duke just to play against UNC and, you know, have that rivalry. But UCLA has that rivalry with USC too, and that's super cool. So, yeah, I've never really looked at UNC. I know that they were interested in me when I was younger, but never really had interest. I always wanted to go somewhere further from home as well. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're like, sorry.
Yeah, but it's actually funny that you brought that up because when I was getting recruited to come to BYU, UNC was also in that mix. So it's kind of funny now.
And you're like, still no.
Still no. That is funny.
Your first season at UCLA was technically 2020, but because of COVID, that season was played in the winter, spring of 2021. And you didn't play because of an ACL injury. Yeah. What happened there? Yeah, so obviously, like I said before, like coming from Spain, I knew that I was set up and I was super confident coming into UCLA. Coming to UCLA, obviously COVID happened, so our season got moved to spring. But during fall, we were still training. And I was literally, I think, the most confident person I've ever been in my entire life. I was thriving at UCLA, having so much fun on and off the field with the girls. I looked up to the seniors there so much. Like, I had such a blast. And I was really looking forward to the spring season. And about 2 weeks out before the spring season, we were playing a scrimmage, and I had gotten the ball, and I had just went to, like, kind of turn. And I was dribbling at a fast pace and went to turn. Nobody was really around me, and I just, like, felt like this shift in my knee. And honestly, I fell down screaming, crying, thinking like I went paralyzed. Like, it was a crazy sensation that I was feeling. And obviously everybody knew right then and there like what was going on. I didn't, because this was my first injury that I've ever had in my entire career. I've never even sprained an ankle before. So this was like a huge thing, and I went into the training room. I remember slamming my hands on the table like, why is this happening to me? Like, why me? Why now? Like, at the time, I just couldn't understand why this was happening to me because I was doing so well, right? Yeah. And then just in a blink of an eye, it's just all taken away from you. And so I remember when I got the news that I tore my ACL, I actually tore everything in my knee, like everything. And I just remember like breaking down thinking like, this couldn't be like worse timing. And I just fell apart. And luckily I had some really good teammates at the time who have also been through that at UCLA who kind of like helped supported me and tried to remember like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I know it seems hard now, but just remember, like, if you just stay driven and you stay focused, like, you're going to get through this and you're going to become a better player afterwards, on and off the field. Being the competitor that you are, and you said it was like the happiest you'd been, you felt so good, then this happens. What was it like having to watch that first season from the sideline? Yeah.
Oh, it was really hard. I remember most nights I would come home crying, thinking like, I could have helped this. Like, if we lost a game, I'm like, maybe I could have done something in this game, or like I could have helped. Like, it was kind of like that feeling where it was like just so sucky being on the sideline, knowing that you can't do anything to help the team on the field. The only thing that you could do is just kind of be like that supportive player on the sideline for your teammates, just to cheer them on and stuff like that. Right. Which, don't get me wrong, like, super blessed that I still had the ability to stay on the sideline at UCLA. Like, at least they didn't cut me or do anything like that. Like, I still was super, super grateful to be in that position where I could still find a new way to be a leader and to help my team off the field, or still on the field but on the sideline. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think it was super challenging, especially because I am I'm somebody who wants to be on that field at the end of the day. I don't want to be sitting on the sideline. Nobody wants to be on that sideline.
Right.
So it was super hard.
And then in 2022, you played in 13 games, started the last 7, and then you got injured again. What was it? The same injury? Did you injure your same knee, or what happened?
No. So this injury, it was kind of hard because around this time we had a coaching change. And so Amanda Cromwell was gone. And obviously when you have a new coaching change, like, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if that coach is going to like you or not. You don't know if, like, they like the style of, or the kind of player that you are.
Yeah.
And so that was, like, super tough on me because I was like, I've known Amanda Cromwell since I was, like, 12. And now I have a whole new coaching staff and they don't know a single thing about me. And so that entire season was super hard trying to get into a rhythm when, like, your coaches don't really, like, know you as a player in person. And so eventually I was able to work my way into that starting position, and I was feeling really good at the time. And we played against USC, our rivals, and I got stuck in a pretty, like, nasty tackle and ended up tearing my high ankle sprain ligament, which obviously for those, they don't recommend surgery or anything like that. Yeah. But they do like PRP injections, so I had to get one of those. And I was hoping to be back for our, NCAA tournament, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get back before then. So I missed out on the year that we won the national championship.
Yes, I was going to say that. Same season, UCLA won the national championship. So did you have some kind of mixed feelings because you were out with an injury?
Yeah, 100%. I think obviously I was just super excited that our team could get to the national championship in the first place and play against UNC, like, awesome environment. And just, like, our whole season that year was, like, rebuilding, like, UCLA and, like, what it means for us as players to be a team and to, like, work and get to that point in our careers. And so it was super fun to be a part of that, even though I was on the sideline.
Yeah.
I think, obviously, again, like, my role had changed in that situation, and it was like, okay, what can I do to, like, help my team the most from the sideline position? And I think at that time it was just trying to be, like, the best, like, supporter and cheerleader that I could for my teammates.
Yeah. Your current teammate, Ellie Walbrook, was a part of that team. How well did you know her back then?
Yeah. So honestly, at UCLA, we were very much like, your classes love your classes. Like, she was obviously 2 years younger than me at the time, or 2 classes below me at the time. Yeah. So I didn't really know her that much until I can't even remember the exact day it was, but I just remember, like, Ellie and I were talking, and we're like, we should train sometime. Like, let's just go to the field. Like, we played similar positions, both forwards, or, like, let's just go to the field and, like, take some shots. So we started doing that, like, frequently, and that's when I really got to know Ellie, and I just love Ellie. Like, she's such a competitor, too. Like, her and I on the field will yap at each other all day long, and after the field, we go up to each other, we hug each other, we're like, love you, bro. Like, it's so simple like that, and, like, you need teammates like that who are going to drive you and push you, and that's Ellie Walbrook.
And then in 2023, you played in 7 games. Were you fully recovered by then?
No. So I got another injury.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I could talk about this a little bit. So I ended up tearing my quad pretty badly. I had, like, a grade 3 tear in my quad. And those are one of those things that are just always nagging. Like, it just always bothers you. And so I was trying to come back from that, but it was really hard. And then when I came back from that, and this happened during the spring, when I came back from that, I ended up I basically tore my Liz Frank ligaments, which, if you know anything about your Liz Frank, it's in your foot. It's basically the ACL of your foot. When you tear that, you have to get surgery. It's a 6-month recovery, maybe more. And it's pretty brutal. Like, you have to get 3 rods stuck in you for 3 months. You can't do anything for those 3 months because you have no mobility in your foot. And then you have to get those rods taken out, and then you have to, like, start your rehab over again. And so that was super hard trying to come back from that as well. But going off of, like, the amount of injuries that I've had at UCLA, I think it was just one of those things where it was like, I felt like I was in a never-ending loop where it was just, like, a bunch of negativity around it, where it's like I could never get healthy. I'm always sick. Like, my mental health was really bad. Like, I was struggling a lot in school. I was just, like, at an all-time low. And obviously when you get injured and you're not playing the sport that you love, that kind of, like, helps bring you out of those dark times, it gets even harder. So, yeah, it was definitely a struggle those last 3 years at UCLA for sure.
So how are you able to overcome that? And maybe it's still something you're working on, but how are you able to kind of take one step at a time to get out of that funk?
I mean, obviously, when you go through a bunch of things like that, you lose a lot of confidence. And I think for myself, it was just like, it came to a point where I was like, it's really hard to, like, for myself to pull myself out of this. Like usually like in the past, like I learned like it's all like in your head mentally. Like you can retrain your thoughts and you can, tell yourself like, listen, like you're still a good person at the end of the day. You're still a great soccer player at the end of the day. Like don't let this define you. Like things like that can help you like pull yourself out of that funk. But it got to the point where I was like, nothing that I can do right now is helping me. Like I literally have nothing left in my tank to pull me out of this. My parents are trying to help me. I was kind of working with some like mental health people, and I just felt like they couldn't really understand like where I was coming from, and it became like super frustrating to me. Yeah. And it came to the point where actually after my senior year, I went home for like a week or so, and I just remember like it was super hard when I was home. I was just not happy. You could tell like I was just like kind of in a funk. But it was honestly a good time for me to kind of like recollect my thoughts and just try and like figure out like, okay, like what can I do for myself to like pull myself out of this? And it just came to a point in realization where I was like, okay, like I need to let this go. Like I can't be in this environment anymore. And that's kind of like what drove me. I was like, okay, like I think I need to find something new here. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like, it's a never-ending, like, bad situation for myself. And the only thing, it's so hard because you love UCLA so much and you love the team and you don't want to leave that environment. But, like, the best thing that you can do for yourself and for your mental health is to leave that environment. And that's kind of, like, what came to my conclusion was, like, okay, like, I think it's time for me to find something else.
Yeah. You needed a fresh start.
I needed a fresh start.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Mackenzee talks about transferring to BYU and what made Provo the right place. This is Her Why. What's up, guys? This is Lauren McLean for Her Why and Royal Legacy. If you like my podcast, make sure you check out 2 Point Conversion, hosted by Connor Pay and Chase Roberts. These guys not only play football, but love to share their insights and testimony into the restored gospel of Jesus Christ. You can find it wherever you get podcasts or on the BYU radio app. Welcome back to Her Why. I'm Lauren McLean, here with star forward from the BYU women's soccer team, Mackenzee Vance. So at UCLA, before transferring, you got your bachelor's degree in psychobiology. What is that?
It's so funny because I always get so many questions on that, but it's really, really simple. It is psychology mixed with biology. Okay. It was a pre-med major at UCLA. And that is something that I'm super interested in after my soccer career is going to medical school. And so I felt like that would be a super interesting career to go into because you learn a mix of psychology and biology. And I think that is super, super cool.
Okay, I love it.
Super simple.
So it is something you want to pursue later on?
Yes.
Okay, I love it. All right, now let's get into how you got to BYU. How did BYU originally, when you decided, okay, I need a fresh start, I need to go somewhere else, how did BYU get on your radar?
Okay, this is actually a cool story. So when I entered the portal, obviously I had some schools reaching out to me. BYU actually did not reach out to me. But at the time I texted Ellie and I was like, Ellie, guess what? And she's like, what? And I'm like, I entered the portal. Like, I'm finally leaving. Like, this is, like, what's meant to be. Like, it's going to be, And she was like, oh, my gosh, like, you need to come to BYU. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I knew nothing about BYU. Obviously, I had heard, like, Ellie had transferred there. Yeah. But I didn't really know much about BYU. And so I was like, okay, like, maybe I will go check it out. Like, obviously, I've been following them for the past couple of years because they've been doing really well, making it to they made it to the championship, right?
Yeah, they did.
Against Santa Clara. And then they made it again to, like, the Final Four. Like, they were doing so well. And I was like, okay, like, they are a good team. Like, maybe I will check it out. And so Ellie kind of got me in contact with Steve and Jen and Brent. And I got in contact with them. And they're like, yes, like, we would love for you to come check out BYU. Like, we would be most definitely interested in you. And I was like, okay. And then I kind of came out for a visit. And it was just unbelievable.
So what was it that ultimately helped you make that decision? What was it about the school or the team or what happened? Yeah,
so obviously I was looking at 2 other schools really besides BYU, and that was South Carolina and UNC. And again, I still wasn't really a fan of being like close to home. Like it didn't really matter to me, honestly, but like I don't need to be close to home at the end of the day. And so with South Carolina and UNC, the biggest differences between those 2 schools and BYU, there's 2 things. One, academics. I really wanted these next 2 years that I had to focus on soccer. Like, I didn't want any external stresses, and one of those was being academics. And so I knew going to UNC in South Carolina that they would make me go into a grad program, and any grad program that I'm interested in is like neuroscience, like all these hard grad school programs that I would not have time for, and I would have to take 6-7 classes a semester. I was like, that is just going to be overload.
Yeah.
And so with BYU, when I came on my visit, they talked about how they had this program called a postbac. And a postbac is essentially where you can just retake any classes that you want to take to better your GPA. And then you can also do an internship if you want, and you don't even have to take classes. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. So like even last season, I only took 2 classes during the season, and it was stress-free, let me tell you. And so, yeah, it was super, super nice. And then the other thing that really stood out to me was when I came on my visit, how everybody on the team made their way over to me to introduce themselves to me, made me feel so welcome, made me feel like you could just tell by the way that they interacted with each other on and off the field how big of a family they were. And that was something that was super, super big for me, because growing up, my club team was like that. And I flourished in that environment when you had everybody where it's like you can give that tough love, but then at the end of the day, they're your best friends. They love you. They never want to do you any harm. Like everything that they do is for love. And so that was kind of an environment that I wanted to go back into. And seeing that at BYU, I was like, oh my gosh, like not only like do I have to take only 2 classes, but like I also have potentially like my best friends for the rest of my life on and off the field. I was like, this couldn't be any better. So yeah, those are the two big reasons.
That's incredible, because you also mentioned that skiing is a hobby. Yeah. Coming to Utah to ski, did that have any
Yeah, honestly, it's so obviously coming from like South Carolina and even LA, completely different environments in terms of like weather and obviously the altitude and things like that. But like the mountains here too, like awesome for skiing, and I love skiing. And so when I found out like there's like a ski resort like 20 minutes away, I was like, that is so sick.
You're like, this is
and
it.
So yeah, and honestly, I think it was around New Year's I went skiing up in Snowbird, and let me tell you, I grew up skiing in North Carolina. The slopes there, I could do the blacks all day long.
Yeah.
Going to Snowbird, I was crying on the way down the slopes. Like, I was so scared. I've never seen anything more steep in my entire life. It was so much fun, though. I had a blast.
Skiing, I don't know if skiing would be my first choice as a soccer player.
Yeah.
With your poor
That's
knees,
so
right?
valid. That is so valid.
All right. After 3 years at UCLA, what was the transition like coming to a new team and a new system at BYU?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, BYU has a completely different system and honestly style compared to UCLA. So that was honestly a very challenging thing for me. I think coming in, like I was moved around like many different positions. They were trying to see where I best fit. So I like started out at the 10, loved playing the 10, but a lot of work, and then played up top a little bit, loved playing up top, but didn't get the ball as much as I kind of would have liked.
Yeah.
And then they put me at withdrawn. And I don't know if you heard anything about being a withdrawn, but let me tell you, that is a lot of work. But I flourished in that spot. I love playing that spot because you do get the ball. You're required a lot in that position, offensively and defensively, and what better way to improve yourself on both sides of soccer than playing that position, honestly. Yeah. But yeah, it's tough.
So it took a minute to get used to it.
Yes, it took a big minute. And honestly, too, like the conditioning side of things, like you feel fit going into it, right? It's like you haven't taken a day off since you transferred. So like, you know, you're going to be fine. And then you get put into that withdrawn position and you're like, am I fit? Like, what the heck's going on? Like, it's crazy.
Oh, no thanks. All right. So when you found out you were going to be in the starting lineup for the first match of the season, what was that moment like?
I felt like I had a lot of expectations on myself, whether this was my first time really being a leader on the field, I think on and off the field, honestly. And it was my first time having a really big role on the team. And I think that added a lot of expectations and a lot of like unnecessary weight, I would say. And so I had to kind of work through that throughout the season of like trying to like remember that like this is, again, a sport that I love to play since I was 6 years old. Like it doesn't need to be any more deep than that. And just to remind myself that like all this unnecessary like expectations like doesn't need to hold me back. And I think it did hold me back for a little bit during the season. Like it took me a while to get into like a rhythm and like back to like my original self. But yeah, so I think those expectations were kind of hard to deal with in the beginning of the season.
Well, regardless, you started all 20 matches for BYU in the fall. You scored 7 goals, adding an assist, making you the second leading scorer for the team. At UCLA, you played in 20 total matches over those 3 years. So what was it like playing a full season and starting every match?
Oh my gosh, I'm so honestly, like, just thinking about it, so blessed to even be in that position. Obviously coming from like playing at UCLA and having so many down moments and injuries and situations like that. Like, I just remember being able to be in that position where you can play that many games is just an unreal feeling. And I think now that I've been in that position and I got to feel all those exciting feelings and just kind of get back into the rhythm of playing that many games in one season, I think now it provides like a platform for myself to like reanalyze everything and be like, okay, like now this is where I need to put more work into. Like this is like where I need to get better in. This is what I'm doing well in, but could still maybe tweak a little few things. And so I think that's super exciting. When you play that many games, you kind of get to reevaluate yourself and be like, okay, like I did good this season, but I could do better, you know?
How do you want this season to be even better than that first season at BYU?
Yeah, I think even for our team, honestly, like our goal this season is to be 100 times better than we were last season. And we're like doing a lot of things off the field right now. Like we're reading this book called Grit, and we're trying to implement ways that we can be the most grittiest people on the field individually and as a team to just, you know, it doesn't matter about talent at the end of the day. It matters about how much work you're willing to put in to be the best player that you can be and as a team. And I think that's one of the things that we're working on is just making sure that we can supply our best versions of ourselves on the field to make our entire team that much better for next season. And we have a lot of high expectations. And I have a lot of high expectations for myself, too. Like, I want to be the number one goal scorer on our team as well. Like, I'm trying to reach that goal. And so I think there's a lot of things that everybody on our team are doing individually to better themselves to then hopefully kind of like spread like a domino effect throughout the team to make everybody else better. It's like, how can I better myself to better other people? You know?
Absolutely. I'm here with Mackenzee Vance, going to be senior forward for the BYU women's soccer team. Mackenzee, thank you so much for taking the time. Good luck in spring and then in fall when it comes.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks to Annie Robinson and Sydney Simpson for producing this episode with senior producer Cleon Wall. Her Why is a production of BYU Radio.